August 2013, Newark Liberty International Airport. Flights lining up on approach. Ships navigating into port. Then, without warning, GPS begins to collapse across the area. Controllers lose precision guidance. Port operations stall. Nobody can find the source. It wasn't a cyber attack. It was a $20 device plugged into a cigarette lighter inside one truck driver's pickup. And what it exposed was far more dangerous than what it caused. The heart of this disruption was Newark Liberty International Airport, a critical node in America's air transit network. But the invisible wave did not stop at the runway's edge. Just a mile away, the massive container terminals of Port Newark and Elizabeth were operating inside the exact same radio environment. Around 10:30 on a warm August morning, the systems guiding this massive transit hub began to quietly splinter. For 45 minutes, the airport's ground-based augmentation system, a highly precise satellite guidance system designed to guide planes to sub-meter accuracy, went completely dark. In the control tower, warning lights flashed. The Federal Aviation Administration was forced to act immediately. Air traffic controllers issued urgent advisories, suspending the advanced landing systems and instructing incoming pilots to revert to older, conventional instrument landing procedures. On the water, the situation was equally tense. Large container ships moving into the narrow harbor channels reported sudden position uncertainty, their automated tracking units losing lock. Meanwhile, out on the asphalt corridors surrounding the port, the disruption spilled onto the land. Commercial trucks moving cargo along U.S. Route 22 and the New Jersey Turnpike experienced sudden, total navigation loss. Their fleet tracking systems went blind, leaving dispatchers unable to see where their vehicles were. This was not an isolated software glitch. Across multiple sectors, from the skies to the shipping lanes, the primary positioning infrastructure of the region had vanished. Operations teams at the FAA and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey realized they were facing a synchronized crisis. GPS satellites orbit 20,000 kilometers above the Earth. By the time their civilian radio signals reach the ground, they are incredibly weak, fainter than the static background noise of the planet itself. It takes a highly sensitive receiver to pull these delicate whispers out of the air. This extreme weakness makes the system highly vulnerable. Jamming is not a complex hack. It is simply flooding the airwaves with a louder local radio hiss on the exact same frequency, completely drowning out the satellites. It is different from spoofing, which feeds receivers false coordinates to trick them. A basic jammer simply blinds them. But when a receiver goes blind, nothing physically breaks. There are no sparks, no smoking circuit boards. To an air traffic controller or a ship captain, the failure looks identical to a routine software glitch or a temporary sensor fault. The data simply stops making sense, or the screen freezes. The system does not report that it is under interference. It just quietly loses its ability to trust its own instruments. The FAA filed an urgent complaint with the FCC, triggering an immediate federal hunt. FCC enforcement agents from the New York field office arrived at Newark with portable spectrum analyzers tuned to the GPS-L1 frequency. When they swept the airfield, their instruments registered a powerful noise burst centered at 1,575.42 megahertz. This was not a standard signal. It was a wall of static drowning out the sky. To track a signal that only appeared in short bursts, investigators cross-referenced multiple digital footprints. They pulled control room logs from the airport's ground-based augmentation system, which recorded a loss of integrity, code 31 alert at exactly 10:31 a.m. Next, they gathered maritime logs from the Port Authority's Vessel Traffic Service, which flagged automatic ship tracking errors only minutes later. By lining up these timestamps with aircraft ADS-B flight paths and local truck fleet telematics, a clear pattern took shape. The interference was not static, it was moving along the highway corridors surrounding the runways. Armed with mobile direction-finding units, agents set up triangulation points around the airport perimeter, waiting for the transmitter to pass by again. On a warm August morning, the tracking signals converged on a single vehicle parked near an airport gate. It was a red Ford pickup truck. Behind the wheel was a driver named Gary Bodchak. When federal agents and local police stopped the vehicle, they discovered a small, cheap transmitter plugged into the dashboard power outlet. Bodchak's motive was simple personal privacy. He wanted to hide his location from his employer's tracking system. To do this, he bought a handheld jammer online for less than $50. He believed the device would only block his company's tracking system, entirely unaware that the radio noise was spreading far beyond his vehicle and drowning out the navigation networks of the entire region. The vulnerability lies in the physics of the signal itself. GPS satellites transmit from 20,000 kilometers away, and by the time those radio waves reach Earth, they are incredibly weak, fainter than the background static of a household television. A handheld transmitter plugged into a dashboard power outlet only needs to emit a fraction of a watt of local radio noise to completely overpower this delicate spaceborne whisper. The jammer does not touch the satellites orbiting overhead. Instead, it blinds the local receivers on the ground. When this loud radio hiss floods the L1 frequency, nearby receivers suffer a total loss of lock. They can no longer extract the satellite data, rendering their positioning information completely useless. Because modern infrastructure relies on a single, shared satellite backbone, this localized blindness spreads instantly across different industries. Ships, planes, and commercial trucks all tune into the exact same frequency. Furthermore, when the signal vanishes, it disrupts location tracking and breaks the precise atomic timing that synchronizes critical ground networks, turning a minor personal privacy shield into a regional operational blackout. 3 incoming commercial flights, including United Flight 1445, were forced to circle in holding patterns, unable to use the disabled landing system. Out in the harbor, 2 container vessels, the MSC Allegro and the CMACGM Brahmaputra, postponed their berthing assignments. The crews had to rely on radar and paper charts as their satellite positioning signals flickered and went dark. On the roads, transport trucks lost GPS tracking for several minutes at a time, forcing dispatchers to coordinate routes over the radio while drivers logged their hours on paper. In less than an hour, the quiet interference racked up an estimated $45,000 in extra fuel costs, port fees, and lost trucking hours. This was the price of a modern network losing its digital anchor. FCC agents secured the illegal transmitter directly from the vehicle's dashboard. They placed the device into a sealed, tamper-evident evidence bag, initiating a strict chain of custody log. At the FCC's electronics laboratory, engineering tests confirmed the device broadcast a continuous sweep across the 1,500 to 1,600 MHz range, completely drowning out the GPS L1 frequency. The moment agents disconnected the power, the local airwaves cleared. Normal satellite tracking immediately returned to the runways, harbor, and highways, allowing federal regulators to advance their formal case. In October 2013, the FCC released a strict new advisory to hunt down GPS interference, while the Port Authority installed a permanent radio monitoring network around Newark's runways and docks. Across the transit industry, engineers began upgrading ships and planes to track multiple satellite networks at once, reducing their reliance on a single frequency. Yet, despite heavy fines, these cheap transmitters remain easy to buy online. The disruption at Newark exposed a quiet truth about our modern systems. We have built an incredibly advanced network, but its entire foundation rests on a fragile, silent whisper from space. Today, our world is more reliant on GPS than ever, yet the airwaves remain quietly vulnerable. The invisible grid protecting modern life is only as strong as its weakest signal, and the next disruption is always just a pocket-sized device away. Share your thoughts below.